Oh, come on, dude. Come on. All right. Yeah. All right, so I'm going to be talking about off-season training for triathlons. So this is going to consist of my off-season program. And the reason I'm making this is because there isn't a lot of valuable information on how to actually structure or make a program for the off-season. So I'm going to talk about tools I'm using, books I'm using, and how I built this program. So it's actually not how I built this program, it's how Joel Friel helped me build this program. So I'm going to be using Joel Friel in his book, The Triathletes Training Bible, which is packed with information. It's the first time I've read that book, and it's the first time I'm going to be implementing it. I've done triathlons before and never read the book. I was never able to have a structured program. Usually I'd have 2 weeks prior to a race, just because of work and being in and out of the country sometimes. And so having some type of structured program for the following season is going to be fantastic. All right, so this is what I got going on. So I'm going to be using, again, Joel, his book. So I'm going to be using his base period, his build period for the off-season and preseason. Off-season is going to be base, which is going to be 3 phases. His build period, which is going to be my preseason, is going to be 2 phases. And so the base period is going to consist of using Stu Smith's Tactical Strength, which is going to be 16 weeks. Joe does offer a strength program in his book, but Stu Smith's Tactical Strength program has exactly everything I want. And so again, it's having that motivation, having that desire and goals of, for when you have those blue Mondays and not wanting to work out, not wanting to do anything, you need that extra motivation of why you're doing something. His programs I'm always excited to do. Very dynamic in the way they're structured, so there's something new every day, something different. And in that program, I'm also going to be using Joe in his swimming lessons. So he has something called posture, direction, length, and catch. And he has that in the book, and in the appendix portion of the book, he breaks it down and what exactly that means and what drills you can do on that. So he says it takes about 7 to 8 weeks for you to really master those and for that to be part of your natural swim structure without thinking about it anymore. So that's going to work perfect for the first 8 weeks. And then for the next 8 weeks, I'm still going to be using Stu Smith's Tactical Strength program, but I'm going to transition to Stephen Taylor's Triathlon Training Series, which is specific training for triathletes. This is going to be using for the last portion of the 8 weeks of my base phase. So in the book, Joe tells you that, he prescribes the base phase being X amount of weeks, which is about 2 to 3 months. Again, he gives you that leeway of what you want. For me, because I'm going to be doing Stu Smith, I'm going to repeat a couple of the phases in the base. So I'll still be doing phase 1, 2, and 3, but I may extend base 2 a week or 2. I may extend base 3 a week or 2 to fulfill those 16 weeks. And then from there, I can transition into the build, which is phase 1 and phase 2. Again, in the book, he tells you exactly how these phases work and the best way to perform these phases. So he tells you base 1 breaks everything down for the week, base 2 how he wants you to do it, base 3. So this is not advanced training. All of it's going to be very basic. So what I'm going to be doing in the base phase is breaking everything down Barney style. So that's why I'm going to go back to the basics when it comes to swimming. Because in my base time, I've afforded myself enough time to be able to adopt any new changes I add into my swim structure so that it is permanent and I can use that transition into the build period. And so when I transition to the build period, it's going to change up a bit. So I will transition to Stu Smith's PJ Crow Pass program, Trainer Road, Stephen Taylor's Try Swim program. So that's going to be base 1 and 2 That's going to be build 1 and 2, what's going to be in that program. And the reason I chose Stu Smith's Crow program, or Crow Pass program, is because in this program he has 1,500 to 2,000 meter swims 3 times a week, 4 times a week, depending on which one it is, which type of week it is. And then he has 3 to 4 mile runs, again, 3 to 4 times in that week. So he's targeting everything that I want to do and what's going to keep me in the program to continue to work out, was going to get me in the pool, was going to get me running. Now, these aren't going to be tri-specific workouts, but they're going to be workouts that get me in the pool on a continuous basis. With that, I'm going to be using Stephen Taylor's program in the pool. So with Stu Smith, when it comes to his pool workouts, I'm going to use Stephen Taylor's program to piggyback on that. And I'm going to use Trainer Road for my bike exercises. I've been using Trainer Road for a couple of years. I'd say about almost 3 years now. Probably just shy of 3 years. I've had great success with them. I think for the price of what they give you is fantastic. I've transitioned most of my workouts to outside, and they offer that structure as well. I prefer outside workouts on the bike. Inside, it feels, with my trainer, it feels like going through sand every couple strokes, so it's hard to keep a good cadence. So for the off season, I will be looking to get a smart bike trainer for when it gets too cold out. So with the PGA Crow program, you're no longer really focusing on weights. You're going to be more calisthenics and doing maintenance on other type of workouts. You're going to be doing weighted workouts with like a weighted vest, jerry cans, things like that. And none of that's going to take away from my bike workouts, because again, in the program, your bike workouts don't really get specific until you get to the phase of examples of the peak training period. So for peak training period, that's when you're going to be triathlon specific. That's when everything's going to be, your swims are going to be, your swims, run, and your bike are all going to be specific to your race of triathlon. And so that's going to conclude my off season. And what the program of what's helped me build this, again, is Joe and his book. Highly recommended to anybody new, 1 to 2 years, or anybody racing, self-coach, I should say. Anybody self-coach is going to learn valuable information. Things that I didn't know how to properly taper prior to a race, because I'd only have 1 to 2 weeks before a race. I would only spend about maybe 2 days off and then transition straight into the race. Now I know how to properly taper prior to a race, a B race, a C race, and how to properly have a B and a C race in a build series or in the peak performance. So in there, he breaks down everything you need to do, or everything you need to know on how to build a program for yourself. It's very valuable. The knowledge in there will help any athlete, again, who is new, self-coached, have a better season, how to properly structure their season, and how to beat the Monday blues. Some days I didn't feel like working out, but what I would do is those days where I had no motivation to work out, but my body felt capable of working out, there was no overtraining, just mentally out of it, I would take that day as a Barney style workout. So if I was in the pool and had to swim 2,100 meters, no motivation, I would just break that down into posture, direction, length, and catch. And those are the only things I would work on. I wouldn't worry about my speed. I would just worry about completing those 2,100 meters and building some type of productivity from that workout. So my race season this year was one of minimal success. I would say 0 success and all humbling experiences. The first race I had to cancel just because I had to reschedule and work. The second race I had dominated the swim, absolutely dominated the swim. Came out first. Transition time from swim to bike was less than 15 seconds. was raining all day, raining during the swim, raining during the bike, full of hills and slopes. Coming up a hill, coming right back down within the first lap of the race on the bike. My chain dropped, added gear in my tri position. It's raining, coming down, and I'm starting to get the wobbles because I no longer have the balance of that positive response of what the pedal, what I was expecting. Throws me to my right a little bit, throws me right into a barrier. My right hip absorbs all the impact. From there, I get passed by 3 different racers, and they all ask if I'm okay, let them know I'm all right. I gotta, assess myself and see if I have any crepitus. If so, then I obviously can't race. No crepitus. From there, I assessed my pain threshold was pretty high of what I was feeling, so I figured I'd just take a couple of breaths and look at my bike and not focus on the injury, get my bike ready, and hopefully that'll be enough time to really assess to see what's going on with me. I went through the gears, put my chain back on, cycled through all the gears to make sure everything was good, went through the big ring, small ring to make sure everything caught properly. Everything was good. From there, reassessed myself and told myself I'm not dead, still breathing, blood still pumping through my veins. I paid for the race. I'm going to complete this race on adrenaline and adrenaline alone. Got back on the bike, got passed by multiple people again, and coming down another slope, I'm in my head, reassessing myself because I can't get a proper cadence. I can't get an aero position. I can't go past 16 miles an hour without, that pain kicking in. So I'm like, all right, I'm just going to find whatever game plan I had for power, speed, and cadence out the window. We're going by feel and feel alone of what I can do. If I can't get to aero, if I can't get to aero, what gears my body will accept, just because my cadence is no longer fluid. It's off to accommodate for my hip. While going through all of this and seeing, can I complete the race? Can I complete the race? I missed my turn and I went straight, and that added 3.1 miles to my bike leg. So I went 3.1 miles extra. And when I finally completed the bike leg, I transitioned to the run, and it took me about 2.5 minutes for that transition. For one, to get off the bike, and I was finally able to get an aero, stuck in aero position. And that actually helped me out to put my shoes back on, just because I was limited in my range. Thankfully, I had put Vaseline on my shoes to help slip in a lot faster. It still took me about 2.5 minutes and a lot of holding my breath, just because it was kind of like a squeaky toy at certain times, as how my breathing was, and pain, so a lot of holding my breath and just pushing through that threshold, putting the shoes on, and then trying to find out what pace my body will allow me to run at. I usually run at about a 7:14 to 7:24 mile pace for a triathlon. For a sprint, I started at a 14 plus minute per mile, just because I had to finally work my body up to an acceptable position. And once I was at an acceptable position, again, my body was teetering a little bit. So I had to tell myself, can I accept this much pain if I align my body properly? I was able to properly align my body, and finally fit into a 8:37 mile pace. Again, my body or my lungs were telling me, go faster, go more. You have so much more in you. Why are you holding back? So I decided to push a little more, and within my natural step, my natural gait of that 7:14, 7:24, my body was telling me that's too much. That's just too much pain you can't take right now. Just felt my body tell me, stick with what I can give you and just finish the race. So I went from first, finished to 12th, and a lot of humbling experiences in that race. One person saw me crash, so when we would pass each other on the bike leg, give me motivation, like, yeah, I'm glad to see you I'm back on the race, or you're still at it, good. And he was actually waiting for me at the end of the race when I passed the finish line. And all I wanted to do was just lay down on my left side and just, relax. He was right there, shook my hand, and, congratulated me on, finishing the race when, he saw me crash and thought my day was done. So humbling experience. Because of that incident, I wasn't able to complete or compete in my third race just because I didn't have enough recovery time. It took me about 9 days to fully recover, where I could finally, be in the pool and have that full length. I could finally get on the bike and transition properly. I could finally run and catch some type of pace. So I missed my third race, but I had about 5 weeks for my fourth race. A week prior to that race, I had a rescheduling and work again, so I wasn't able to compete in that race. So in the 4 races, I was only able to compete in that race. So in the 4 races, I was only able to compete in 1 race, 2 due to rescheduling and 1 due to injury. So it wasn't a very successful season. So I'm really excited about this off season to build with all the information that Joe in his book has put, with Stu Smith's workout programs, and with Stephen Taylor's swim program. I'm really excited. I really hope this helps you build for your off season and what you're missing. Again, this is structured and specific for me and the things that I like, but my platform is Joe and his build phases and his off season. I'm using Joe's structured program, and I'm adding things onto what fits for me and what motivates me and what gets me out there in the water, on the bike, and on the pavement. So hopefully something in here works for you as well. I didn't find anything online that helped me structure an off season. I didn't find anything on YouTube to help me structure an off season other than tips and tricks and buying other people's off season programs. But after reading this book, I realized there was no reason to buy someone else's off season program when Joe puts everything you need to be successful, and the fact that it allows you to add extra things into that program which work for you individually. And so that's why I'm excited about this off season. If you guys, triathletes are mostly gearheads and, what's new and what's not. So the only things I'm going to be upgrading is going to be my chain. I've had that for 3 years. My crank set, I'm going to be replacing that. And that's really about it. And, of course, the shoes, just because of how many miles I put onto them. But if you guys want a gear breakdown of what I use this season, comment below. Let me know. I can walk through it, let you guys know pricing, budgeting, how I worked it out, and how I was able to get into what I would consider tier 1 and tier 2 equipment at a tier 4 price. And so that's all I got for you guys. Let me see if I have any bottom notes here. No, that's about it. Comment below if you guys got any questions. And again, the importance of this book is that it gives you an off-season, pre-season, in-season, and a and B race peak period and a taper period. I am thankful to finally know how to properly taper. I definitely feel like that's going to elevate my times in the triathlons for this coming season. Thank you for your time. Have a good day.